Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Netrunner players. We are back live here at the 2024 Netrunner World Championships in scenic San Francisco. My name is Craig, pronouns he, him.
I'm Eric, pronouns he, him.
Hey, we haven't been on mic together.
I know.
This rules.
We almost did,
We're
and
back,
then we didn't.
We're back from the lunch break. We're all nice and well fed. We've all hydrated ourselves. Maybe
It's
done
a late lunch.
Yeah, late lunch. Done our Duolingos as well. But we're back, and we're here with a continuing coverage of the top 16 cut. On your left, the reigning two-time world champion, Sokka 234, and on your right, Santa, representing Aginfusion. This is a really interesting matchup for a couple of reasons. Number one, two of the more popular IDs this weekend. Number two, this is actually a run back from earlier in the top 16 cut. Santa, on this Aginfusion deck, is the reason Sokka is in the lower bracket to begin with.
That's right. I was just speaking with Sokka before the game, and apparently Santa was able very early to find all of the sentries in the deck, more or less, and then just tax out all of the counters on Sokka's killer, which is the revolver.
Yes, the gun.
And then just kind of lock out that way.
We are underway here. Santa opening things off with the El Clasico Ice Hedge Fund. Pass the turn over to Sokka. Sokka starting off by cracking a Stone Ship chart room.
Always a good start. Some kind of draw. Got to find a lot of tools in the lat deck. And Sokka's going to be trying to maximize draw here. We'll see how many cards Santa has in hand.
Anacam coming down, Dirty Laundry running Archives. That's going to trigger Anacam. Put another card in Sokka's hand. One click left over on Sokka's side of the board, pondering his options.
With 8 credits, it's hard to face check basically anything without some kind of a solution.
Against Aginfusion especially. A lot of this ice can and will hurt you if you just so happen to look at it wrong.
An early Simmel chip, which is really useful in the matchup with all of the recurring breakers. Well, actually, Sokka's moved a little bit off of recurring breakers. Definitely has a few things like a buzzsaw that's more permanent. He's got a bit of a turbine hybrid rig right now. So the revolver is going to be an early target for sure.
Yes, yeah. Revolver probably the answer in the early game. Obviously cannot rely on it once the game goes too long. We're going to install a piece of ice, put a card behind it, advance it. Suggesting possibly Charlotte Casador would be a very, very gutsy agenda score if Santa's trying to go for a Nisei Mark II.
Early pinhole. If that is a Charlotte.
Not long for this world.
Probably going to get popped.
It is a 4-2.
Okay.
Gutsy.
That is quite gutsy. If we have an SMC in hand, we can just go and try and fetch it. Although on 3 credits, it's going to be hard to do.
Yes, would need something like an overclock potentially to make that happen. Sokka now has a decision to make. Is he going to let this one go?
It doesn't seem like it's going to be an agenda that's going to get stolen this turn. 2 clicks left. Is it possible? You go SMC overclock?
I can't do that because the Aginfusion ability can just boop you out.
Just boop you right off.
Sokka pondering options yet again.
So do we see if Sokka kept or mulled?
I did not happen to catch whether or not Sokka kept his opening hand or not. Here's a copy of Propeller, and we are going to charge the remote.
Just going to run. This could just be an ag boop, and then Santa's going to go triple advance and score that.
Though there is a certain is there a certain victory in just trashing the ice, just forcing Santa to use the Aginfusion boop?
I think that Santa's happy to make that trade.
Depending on the ice, I think it's dependent on what that ice is. If it's something small or sort of inconsequential that's not going to scale throughout the game particularly well, you're happy to throw that one away.
Yeah, I guess it depends. We don't know what's there.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, but if it's something more impactful, like potentially a copy of Anansi or a copy of Brawn 1.0, probably something you'd want to hold on to for a little bit longer. Although Brawn 1.0 perhaps not as good into this Propeller.
Sokka forcing the issue.
Yes. Santa going deep into the tank here.
Wow. Not quite as straightforward a snap decision as I made it seem like, apparently.
No, not at all. This is extremely bold. If this is anything but a breaker, will likely just fire the subroutines. Let's see.
We are seeing the ag boop.
Aginfusion boop. We're going to send Sokka over to Archives. We will see what that was. It is a Brawn 1.0.
That is Sokka is probably feeling pretty happy to see that in the bin.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it totally explains. Yeah, okay, and then
triple
on
advance.
Sokka's turn. Right.
Off-world office goes into the score. Off-world office going into the score area. 7 credits. Tempo positive agenda. That remote server completely deleted out of existence, but 2 points over in Santa's score area.
It
Here's
did
the
its
second
job.
simul chip.
Simul chip, click, click, click. Credit. And
Lat
looks
draw.
like lat draw. I think we're just tracking.
Pondering where to put the agenda,
yeah,
I think,
yeah.
to keep it in view on the camera. Thanks,
It is
Santa.
a little, it's somewhat cramped sometimes.
Into our mandatory draw.
This is a pretty good position for Santa, being on 12 credits at 2 points. And Sokka, while having the Anacam, the propeller, and 2 simul chips installed, definitely has a lot more setup to do before he's going to be able to threaten to really just kind of take down any problem that gets thrown out there.
Agreed. And Sokka has a lot of ways to rapidly set up, potentially from a position where it did not appear that he could set up in the first place. Cards like Overclock, cards like Deep Dive, in conjunction with self-modifying code and simul chip, very quickly for very good for a quick burst of credits that can be used for pretty much whatever you want here, partner.
It does look like Santa's list is a little bit less of a hyper glacier ag. I don't think that we see things like the biovaults in this list.
No biovaults, just Anoetic Void.
Right. So kind of a medium way, a medium
Mid-rangey maybe is the way to describe it.
Right.
Kind of starts as a bit of a rush deck with the gear checks, things like Thimble Rig, Tattoo Bola, Brawn 1.0 as well, and then shifting over into the more slow-paced Glacier deck at the end game with the big sentries like Saisentan and Anansi.
Now, Sokka's going to be threatening Deep Dive. He runs 2 in his deck, and he just installed one of the key pieces of making that a real threat, which is the Hannah Wheels Palintra, I believe.
I believe that's correct, yeah.
Which is going to allow Sokka, when he does the Deep Dive, to use additional clicks to access more agendas and score 4 or 5 points in a turn, maybe even 7 if,
I think it would be tough to score
I think
7.
I think it's 2 clicks extra.
Yeah. I don't think there's a way to score exactly 7 off of one Deep Dive.
Unless we see a DJ Sable.
Yes, DJ Sable is a potential, and that is a play that Sokka has been making all tournament long.
Right. I think that's the primary target, using DJ Fenris to put Sable on the table, and when you're doing that Deep Dive turn, you get another click back, and between that and the Hannah, you can have 3. If you hit 3 on 8, which you're probably doing late in the game once you've kind of made sure there's lots of agendas in that R&D.
Yeah, and this is I would think it's somewhat board state dependent, right? If Santa looks like he's digging for the agendas as much as Sokka is, that's when you sort of force the issue and maybe try to go for the deepest possible dive, if you will.
You got to dive deep.
Turn back over on Santa's side. Looks like 1 click remaining. 2 clicks remaining. Thank you, table judge.
Judges are just doing the work here.
I know. Another big shout out to our judging staff here. They have been just absolutely killing it all weekend.
This is my first Worlds, and I'm astounded about the amount of effort that the judge team has been putting in.
It's a tough job.
It's a lot. There's a lot of people.
And I'm thankful for them for doing it.
Yeah. Okay. Click 2. We're gonna. Oh, I see. We're kind of going the other way.
Yeah, it looks like we're just going to make a new server with a piece of ice. Here's a Diesel.
Anacam, Diesel working together in concert.
Make your own VRcation, if you will.
Yeah. That's a lot of card draw. Sokka's going to take a minute to evaluate all of the new information that just ended up in his hand.
One of Sokka's superpowers is the ability to just instantly read a board state. Here comes DJ Fenris in the house.
Spinning a record.
Along with the Stone Ship chart room.
Stone Ship DJ.
Can't exactly tell what... Oh, okay. Maybe not the DJ Fenris quite yet.
Just tracking clicks.
Fenris no longer in the house.
Fenris has left the building. Buzzsaw instead.
There's the Buzzsaw. Okay. Buzzsaw going to match up nicely against the 2 copies of Thimble Rig in Santa's deck.
But now Santa has that information. He knows that DJ is potentially online.
Yes. Yeah, you take the free information when your opponent is kind enough to give it to you.
Now, looking over Santa's list, I don't think I see Sadaka in the list, which is one of the ways that you can deal with the DJ Fenris. With a lot of players have been running a 1x copy of Sadaka, which is a trap ice that can trash resources.
Yes, I don't think that Sokka has a way to deal with a trap ice, period. Right. Install another ice. Here's a card in that remote server and an advancement. What could this possibly be?
You think this is threatening just another off-world?
We have
Oh, and Nisei Mark IIs are also a possibility. There's only one offhold in the list.
Right. If this is a 4-2, it's going to be a copy of Nisei Mark II. It could also be representing the Charlotte Castador.
Right. On a lot of credits, it could be either.
And I think whatever this ends up being is going to be very, very telling. And Sokka very strongly pondering whether or not he can go after this one.
On 7 credits, it is kind of a big ask.
It's dicey.
It's not impossible for
No.
Shaper. There's a lot of burst credits in Shaper, but to get through 2 pieces of ice, it could be tricky.
Crack the stone chip. Let's see 2 extra cards. Doesn't cost a click.
You don't really need the stone chips here for protecting your life.
Correct.
You know, preventing flat lines. They're just a click for 2 draw when you need it.
Yes, the net damage more bumps in the road, if you will, rather than an active kill threat
Really
out
nice
of Aginfusion.
that you can bank them. They also, I don't know if the list is on Cataloger.
I don't believe so.
Okay, that is another use that sometimes they get used for to charge a Cataloger.
Sure, the less commonly seen second mode of charge an installed card.
Right. It can provide charges on propellers
Yes.
and
Revolver,
bullets.
also using power counters.
right, which can be critical. But
So-
here, the card draw is more important.
Sokka deep in the tank. If this is a Nisei Mark II, I don't know that you can let this one go.
You don't want to. That is a very powerful token. It's been a recurring theme over the weekend.
Yeah, it was strong in 2012. It's strong in
Okay.
2024. Here's DJ Fenris, and there's the mark die. Looks like it is DJ Sable.
Yeah, we don't need the extra card. We have a die to represent that. Okay, down to 4 credits. So
Yep.
what is the plan to make more money?
There's a second stone ship chart room.
3rd.
Oh, you're right.
We
Excuse me.
started the game with 1.
Yes, that's all 3. Looks like click for credit.
2, yeah.
Yeah.
We're on 9.
Or
Oh,
Creative
yes,
Commission.
last
Yes.
click we missed under the overlay there.
Discard an extra copy of Anakin past the turn back. Santa looks like it is going to be Charlotte Castador.
Okay, I think Sokka's probably pretty happy about that.
I think so.
Given the 2 options.
Yes, given the option of a Nisei token or just a Charlotte Castador, you're not happy to see Charlotte, but you're happy that it's not a Nisei Mark II.
And like over a certain amount of money, the money is less important than the points or the setup or the ability to turn the run off.
Yes.
Because with all that money, you still need to find the right ice and put it in the right place and have the time to do all that stuff still. Although, you don't need to find the right ice in Ag all the time. Sometimes you just need to find ice
Yes.
so that you can move them around with the Ag ability.
In Aginfusion, all ice is equal in Aginfusion's eyes.
Equally useful as garbage and shipping you to other places.
Now, what do we think that Santa is going to be looking to do on this turn? Here's a sprint.
Digging for something here. Or potentially flooded and putting some things back in.
Yes, potentially fixing the hand.
But do you think we would have pushed something last turn instead of the Charlotte?
It's possible.
Yeah. It seemed like a narrow window, not a sure thing for sure.
I think Santa knows that the late game does not actually favor him in this matchup with deep dive on the board. With the ability to get so many extra clicks between the Sable and the wheels, it's very hard for Aginfusion to effectively click crunch these decks out of the game, such that they cannot fire deep dive. That card is typically live.
All those extra clicks probably won't be available, by the way, that we were talking about. A 3-click deep dive is very unlikely because one of the clicks is almost definitely going to be eaten by an Ag boob.
Yes.
So that's just sort of like a buffer.
Yes.
You need more than you actually normally do.
You're right. Exactly.
It's mostly just like concerned about something falling out.
Clicks acting as hit points.
Yes. Yeah,
What a world we have come to.
Game lost very well.
You know, when you play against a PE, your cards are hit points, but here it's clicks.
Yes.
Oh, Jinteki.
A little bit of friendly banter between the two as Santa puts down another ice in front of R&D, advances the Charlotte Castador, passes the turn back over to Sokka.
Manually advancing. So Santa wants to get a Lacosta grid in that remote,
Yeah.
and a little bit more ice on the tip, so that he can start prioritizing buttoning up centrals, and then giving a bit of a fork, saying, "You got to break this down, and you got to get in a remote server, because if you don't deal with this, then I'm going to have time to do the other thing."
Charlotte Castador a lot more efficient to be firing every turn off of a Lacosta grid advancement rather than a manual click advancement.
Right, when it's doing the work itself.
Here's Turbine.
Turbine, telework contract. This is good. Sokka's got some breathing room in his building a board. Even though that turn over turn, the Charlotte firing is going to be a major issue. How many copies of Pinhole do you think Sokka has in his deck?
We can find out. Looks like 2 copies of Pinhole Threading in
so
Sokka's deck.
We've seen one
We've seen one.
pretty early for.
Yes.
It was a Charlotte, right?
Was it?
First. Oh, yeah, that's right. We thought
yes.
it was a Charlotte. It was the off-world office.
Yes.
That's right.
Turn back over on Santa's side. The Charlotte Castador pops the advancement counter for 4 credits and 1 card. We saw the Turbine come down on Sokka's side of the board. Now, Turbine with the Buzzsaw, not really necessary in this matchup. Santa really not running a lot of code gates outside of a couple copies of Thimble Rig.
That's right. But the Turbine is very helpful with
Sentries.
Yeah,
you have to. It's your ticket out for Sentries, I think. Here's a copy of Hansei Review. We're going to yeet 1 card to the bin, gain 5 credits. All the money in the world on Santa's side of the board here.
Although I think also saving some counters on Propeller through Bronze.
Yeah.
Now, 1 Brawn out. I think are there 2 Brawn in the list? There are 3 Brawn in the list. 6 Influence spend.
3 is traditional. Well, you have that 2 extra influence off of the
That's true.
Off of the
Yeah, you
Aginfusion.
can spend it however you want.
Why not?
Just flying off the hand.
Yeah, make it rain with
Thank
influence.
You. I was
yeah.
doing the motion, and I was like, how do I verbalize?
Third copy. We've got Simulchip Exodia on the board. All 3 installed along with a copy of Self-Modifying Code. Get the lat draw at the end of turn, pass it back over. The Charlotte Castador just keeps on rolling along.
Santa mandatory, and then oh no, this is the Charlotte.
Yeah, Charlotte draw and then mandatory. Rifling through the hand, pondering options here. At a certain point, the Charlotte going to get overwritten in favor of an agenda or potentially a defensive upgrade. Most likely culprit there would be a Lacoste, or excuse me, an Anoetic Void.
Checking the deck list.
Yeah, checking the deck list. Is, at this point, top 16 cut is open deck list at all times. So much like we have access to the deck lists at the desk, our players have access to the deck lists within the game. Checking Sokka's yard as well.
I think that Santa's just basically stopped checking the deck once the Pinhole got revealed. I don't know. That's my read, is that it was like looking through, okay, 1 Pinhole in here.
It did look like he paused on the Pinhole. Yeah. Really knowing that is a card that he must respect.
Right.
Because Anoetic Void, one of the best ways of scoring agendas out of these Aginfusion decks.
Right. 1 ice on, you kind of are going to do that anyway to some extent. But you don't want to have any weak servers here because of deep dive threats.
Here's a copy of Subliminal Messaging, giving Sokka a reason to run every single turn. And we're going to continue icing R&D.
Just playing the Subliminal for a credit here, right?
Yeah.
I guess
just
because
for the credit.
So that is saying to me that all the cards in Santa's hand are worth it and wants to keep them. And the Subliminal, we're just going to spend it for credit because it might come back.
Yeah. You're
or at
happy
least-
if it comes back. It's
Right.
free real estate if it does. If it doesn't come back, hey, it'll probably come back eventually.
Right. It's very useful to have the Subliminal hand when you draw like a Hansei Review,
Yeah,
which there are 3 of in the list.
One of the best targets for Hansei Review we could possibly ever see. So we're going to click the telework contract.
Emptying the telework.
Get the lat
Get
draw.
the lat draw.
So both players really just setting up
Yeah,
here.
saying you're not going to do anything, I'm not going to do anything. It's an arms race. Wow, that is 4 ice. I just looked down at the table
4
again.
deep on R&D, yeah.
That's some major trick shot respect.
Well, we know how much Shapers love their R&D partner. Checking the ice there. What did I put where, says Santa.
Yeah. Well, so now if you get a couple of strong reses in the outermost here, you've loaded up a lot of boops.
Yeah. The outermost ice is the scariest spot for the big ice to be, like Saisentan or like Anansi. Now, I do believe Santa missed his trigger on the Subliminal Messaging. I don't believe we saw a run on Sokka's side of the board.
True.
So just a small misplay on Santa's side, but we'll see if that ends up being impactful whatsoever.
Right. Yeah, that was a total turnoff.
Subliminal Messaging is kind of an odd trigger to remember.
It is so hard. I've missed it so many times.
Yeah, there's a lot of strategies for managing that one. I see a lot of players place the die on top of the deck or place the card itself on top of the deck. Here's another copy of Sprint.
I think maybe Santa just noticed because when he discarded a card and put it on the Sprint on top, he went kind of like, oh, and looked at the Subliminal.
Did I do that?
Yeah. It's hard to say.
Here's the Sprint. We're going to see 3 cards enter HQ and 2 cards from HQ go right back into the deck.
And you don't know what's happening under there.
No, we had no idea what's happening. There's a lot of face-down cards on the board here, but the fact that Santa hasn't been pushing anything and just continuing to ice up R&D sort of suggests he's not seeing the cards that he wants to be seeing in this position.
It sounds like probably just agendas, not enough defensive upgrades. That's like, because the rest of the list is either money or defensive upgrades.
Right.
He's getting a lot of ice and probably a lot of agendas.
Yes.
Because otherwise, you're putting them on the table and you're getting ready.
Now, again, a lot of ice, not necessarily a bad problem to have here in Aginfusion, as you can use those for the very powerful Aginfusion ID ability to redirect the runner's run.
Yeah, but the way you leverage Ag's inherent ability to end the run is to add even more kind of unfair end the run abilities like analytics and things like that.
That's that click crunch we were talking about earlier.
Right. No copies of border control in this list, right?
2 copies.
2 copies.
Yeah,
okay.
2 copies of border control.
Yeah, another way to end the run.
Continue manually advancing the Charlotte Costador. Again, not generally what you want to be doing, but the Charlotte Costador ability extremely powerful to have rolling. Looks like a copy of Hedge Fund. And we're going to pitch it.
Charlotte's just cooking.
Yeah, Charlotte is really cooking here.
Catching clones.
Yeah, working out in the field. She loves it. She loves it. Has to turn back over to Sokka. Sokka leaning back in his chair, arms crossed, thinking, what's the play here? There's just a ton of credits on the board for both players here. Sokka sitting on, what is that, 23? Santa
23.
Sitting on, is that 34?
30, 39?
39?
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and is there ever such a thing as too much money in a game of Netrunner?
It is
Can you
possible,
leverage that much money?
It is possible that we run out of poker chips at the table. There's a limited number of those 5s.
and of course, we all know you cannot gain more money if we run out. No, that's not true. That's not true.
It's not component limited.
Sokka overriding the Charlotte. 2 cards entering, maybe.
Yes.
Yes, 2 cards entering the remote server, one of them with an advancement. Representing the very powerful aforementioned Nisei Mark II. Sokka rolling his mark. Now, does that looks like archives, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I believe that is the archives.
Well, in any case, here comes Overclock. Into the remote server, there's the copy of Border Control. Now, Sokka can break this with the propeller, but it makes you wonder if this is exactly what he wants to be doing with these limited propeller counters.
Well, you use the propeller counters for boosting strength, right? And we've got the the turbine.
Thank you, correct.
Yeah, so that actually helps a lot, saving those credits.
Yeah,
only using them for when you need to with the bronze.
Correct. The power counter is not even necessary from this position because we're turbined up.
It is just bronze. So, besides the border control, it's just bronze that are barriers.
Bronze looks like Tattoo Bola's in the list as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. The ordering on this is
the ordering they're not ordered. They're ordered alphabetically, not by subtype. But yes, there are some copies of Bronze as well as Tattoo Bola.
Tattoo Bola also being handled by Turbine though.
Yes, turbine propeller. We'll make quick work of that one.
Yeah.
Santa checking the ice here. Let's see what it is. Just a thimble rig.
We break that for 1.
Yeah, this remote is quite weak.
Okay, we're going to swap the thimble rig. Mobile ice, super useful in this deck. Putting it last.
Here's Void.
Oh, boy. Putting that thimble rig last on R&D means that any time that we get past that point, that remote's border control is suddenly going to end the run.
Yeah, very cheeky play that could be made here.
This is the kind of like high school Netrunner, that you jam this deck hundreds of games.
Yeah, you
learn these fun tricks.
Yes, after 100 games, you're bound to learn some tricks of the trade. And Santa's showing off a lot of tricks of the trade at the moment. Looks like Sokka utilizing that SMC with the remaining overclock credits before the Void trigger goes off.
Yeah, just get the revolver down.
Yeah.
Fully set up as far as breakers here.
Yes, might as well use him. That gun fully loaded. We're going to see 2 cards and 2 credits hit the bin. Anoetic Void going to shut this run down.
Right. We have 1 card in hand or 2?
For Santa, excuse me?
For Santa, yeah.
I believe 2 or 3. Can't get a good look at his hand as he shuffles
3.
around. Looks like 3. Okay, so Void could fire again.
1 more time.
And if we're correct, and Santa's been drawing a lot of cards that he doesn't want to see, maybe totally fine firing this Void again. Let's see what this new ice is that took the place of Thimble Rig.
Yeah, what do we swap in? Another Brawn?
Another Brawn into this propeller is not exactly where you want to be.
You also do. You can Anoetic, and then you can use the Boop. So you can.
Yes.
If that is an agenda, you're safe this turn. You can score it, I think. Right? Because we can end with the Anoetic this time with the 2 cards and a click. 2 cards and 2 credits. And then we can use the Boop on the last run. It's okay.
Just a Tattoo Bola.
Yeah. Same though. Here, actually, we can end with the Anoetic, swap in an ice, and then Boop.
Yes.
Even better.
Yeah. Another way to get another way to get a piece of unrezzed ice there in that innermost position.
You know the meme with the big brains? You know, that's.
We're going through it in real time.
I'm like middle of the pack. These guys. Oof.
Well, that's why these folks are in the top 16 on the top tables.
We end with a border control.
We're going to end with the border control. That makes me wonder if this is a very real ice here on the outside of this remote now.
Oh, another border control?
Santa checking it. What's it going to be? Looks like it's an
Boop.
Aginfusion.
Okay.
We are going to access archives. Now, does this give Sokka the click back off of his mark?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes, there it goes.
That may have been a colossal misplay. I
Didn't-
don't think. Yeah, Santa leaning back in the chair with a look like, oh no, was I supposed to set? I think you're supposed to set him somewhere else.
Anoetic can still protect here.
Well, there's only 3 cards in hand, and
Right.
Sokka now has an extra click. If Santa uses the
That's
Anoetic
right.
here, he's stranded with 1 card in hand and cannot fire the Anoetic Void on the final click.
Yeah. Yeah, Santa shaking his head a little.
Yeah, Santa realizing, I think Santa sees
There's
he
the
made a
D-Say.
misplay. There's the D-Say.
Ooh, that was a good steal.
And clears out the Void. Oh, no.
Tearing down the remote.
Oh.
Santa's on the back foot here.
Oh, it's
That-
all come apart so quickly for Santa.
That was hard.
Yeah. Santa with a cock of the head saying, I should have known better.
That innocuous little die on the Sable.
Yeah. Anywhere but archives would have been
Right.
safer.
Right. Boop into archives is a reflex.
Yes,
Right?
yeah. Normally it's 100% safe, but with the Sable ability,
I mean, R&D would have been a mountain to climb, I suppose.
R&D, even HQ would have been fine.
Well, depending on what's in
depending
hand.
on what's in hand, sure.
Right.
But we're going to see another ice coming down in front of R&D. A lot of respect being given. Never mind.
I think there was a judge clarification about just tracking board state potentially.
So we're going to get a click draw on click 1 instead.
All right, so let's see how does Santa reestablish a position here? Is it just installing ice, installing upgrades?
I think so.
Spin Doctor's helping
Spin
to
Doc-
get some card draw.
Spin Doctor's great, and also going to get some of those tools some of those resources that Santa just spent back in the deck, where he can access them again.
The nice part for Santa is that he has plenty of money.
Yes,
Right. So the credits are still 27 credits.
Tons of money, but with the D-Say Mark II in Sokka's score area, the deep dive threat is just looming large
That's
over
right.
over this game.
Yeah, it's a race now. And what is the race? Do you concentrate on putting more ice on your centrals, or do you build that remote?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Because it's a bit of a, if you put all of your ice and all of your resources,
That's the tightrope.
you're eventually going to flat out.
If you overinvest in one server, Sokka will shift elsewhere. If Santa leaves R&D, or rather his central servers undefended, here comes deep dive.
Cupulation.
Yeah, here's cupulation.
The thing on the way with the deep dives, you can use the cupulation to sweep the hand.
You sure can.
So it's not even just you get the incidental access on the way if you go.
You can run archives.
Trick shot, sorry.
Trick shot, excuse me.
Trick shotting, seeing extra cards on the top. Although you're probably going to see those anyway with the deep dive, right? They're
Yes,
off the top.
yeah.
Unless you cause a shuffle mid run.
I think a play we've seen Sokka make is run archives, put a card on cupulation, run HQ, pop the
Yes.
cupulation for
then-
3 accesses, make the R&D run, and then the trick shot.
Right.
Basically accessing as many cards as humanly possible
Yep.
on the deep dive turn. Let's see if that one comes to fruition here. Santa with the turn back on his side.
For all of the text on trick shot, at the very least, it limits you to only running the one central as far as working in tandem with deep dive.
Yes, you have
It doesn't
to
enable you
run
to,
R&D.
Right. It doesn't enable you to do multiple runs in one click and more click compression.
Correct, yes.
You see a 5th ice
5th ice.
on R&D, and we can potentially see a trash here. I think we already paid for all the extra install costs.
It looks like Santa paid for. Just checking what ice is where.
For newer players to the game, every time you play an ice on a server, you have to pay 1 credit for each ice behind it. So that every time this server gets bigger and longer, it's costing more and more and more out of Santa's pockets.
Another click draw on third click.
Not to mention you have to res all. Well, you don't need to res all those ice because
You don't
it's
need to.
ag.
Yes.
It's ag. It's a lot of no's, but you can only do one a turn.
Yes.
So it's totally fair.
Sure.
Aginfusion's it's just been a very strong ID for a very long time. And it
Yes.
allows, actually, we've seen several very creative archetypes develop from that ability.
Yeah, we saw Tibby Wong playing much more of a rush style Aginfusion this weekend.
But in
We've-
previous metas like Loki
Trap,
Ag
yeah,
and
Loki Ag
all
in
sorts of stuff.
2022. We've seen for the old heads in the audience, we've seen some traps come down back at Gen Con in 2018. But that's neither here nor there.
Keeling Ag was a
you just
was
had
a
to
time.
remind me.
Yeah, so
Here's a copy of Spin Doctor. 2 cards entering Santa's hand. We're just gonna click for a couple credits. Toss 2 cards into the bin, pass the
Okay.
turn back.
rolling archives again for Mark.
Use the wheels to run the spin doctor. Now it is important if a wheels run is unsuccessful, you would typically get a tag. The way the spin doctor works is if spin doctor disappears, or if an uniced spin doctor disappears during a run, the run is neither successful nor unsuccessful.
Right,
It just
it
sort
just-
of fizzles.
It ends.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
No tags.
no harm, no foul.
But yeah, that's a perfect way to use the Hannah. Just to say, I would like that to go away, please.
Oh, I keep forgetting to use symbol.
And you're happy either way if you are somehow forced to trash it. I think in this position, Santa definitely has enough things that need to go back into R&D. So.
Yes,
Okay, we're running R&D here.
that's what it looks like. We see Santa reaching for that outermost piece of ice on R&D.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
No, it's
Yeah.
we're gonna. It's,
Wrong turn.
yes, wrong turn, but the hits just keep on rolling. Santa's got to pay 5 for this one.
Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, and now he's got
It's
some
encroaching on the
encroachment.
runners.
That's a 5-yard penalty. Remains third down. Yeah, ice 6th ice going down in R&D.
This is not a board seat you usually see.
I think, is this a record for the stream? I don't think we've seen any server, let alone a central server, get
This is
this
some
deep.
wild and wacky stuff.
Yeah. This is. Hey, sometimes it doesn't go the way you draw it up on JNet.
That's right.
Keep forgetting both of them.
And that's the beauty of the game.
It is,
It's like,
yes.
well, listen, I'm painted into a corner. Let me paint my way
This is
out.
what makes Netrunner so beautiful. How expressive is this game?
Right. A lot of creativity and problem solving. All right, so we're going to...
Sokka looked like. Did Sokka just click for 4 credits past the turn back? It was a very quick turn on his side of the board because we see Santa reaching for this
Maybe.
thimble rig, swapping that one over to archives.
They are tied on points. Sokka is ready to absolutely demolish a remote server as soon as something gets put in there,
Yeah.
I think, and the agendas have to be building up in hand.
They
They
gotta
have
go-
to be building up in
they
hand.
have to
and
be somewhere.
Archives, for all of the ice on R&D, Archives has 1 ice on it. So if they end up there without the spin doctor, Sokka doesn't need to do anything to get them, basically.
Yeah.
Right? This is a really hard position for Santa. Oh, we got both subliminals.
Both subliminals coming back. Finally remember to bring those back. Take the mandatory draw.
This is a tough spot for
This
Santa.
this one's tough. Here's one of those subliminal
You need to
messaging.
either build a remote server or ice archives.
Yeah,
And start-
Aginfusion has to score agendas the hard
Yeah.
way.
I think
They
you
have
need
to
to be
score them out of
proactive.
a remote. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So a remote's going to get built at some point. Santa cannot just sit here.
Hansei review.
Hindsight
More money.
review. More money. Got to think he's pitching that extra copy of subliminal messaging.
Yeah.
Clicks for another credit,
I think we
pass the turn
saw
back.
it. I think you could actually see.
Okay. Yeah, Sokka, I believe, just clicking for 4 credits, saying you need to represent
They
a threat
did
before I will
actually
do
run
anything."
out of poker chips.
Oh, the unthinkable has happened. Santa just adamantly refusing to build a remote server
Wow.
and continuing to ice the centrals. Now, it's important to call out just a quirk of the top 16 format. In the event of a true tie on points when the timer hits 0, and both players have had that extra turn, the way that a tie works in these situations, the higher seed will take the win.
Do we know who that tire seed is?
I know Sokka was sitting around seed 8 or 9. We're going to go to the stats here momentarily and get that information.
Okay. We do have HQ ice here. 3 deep now on HQ.
This appears to be deference to...
I think that Santa is potentially higher on
Yes.
points.
Yeah,
okay.
it appears that Santa is the higher seed, sitting at 7 seed.
Right.
So in the event of a tie, this does favor Santa, and that's starting to explain this line of play that he's taking, just saying, I will prevent you, I will sit here and do nothing to prevent you from firing a deep dive in the next 6.5 minutes.
Yeah, but you got to figure at some point. So that explains all the other. Okay, we have upgrades on HQ, so that's probably an Anoetic Void.
Anoetic Void is what that suggests to me.
Keep you out of HQ.
Yeah, well, Lacosta can't go in HQ, and the Mavirus would be a bit of a juke, I would say.
That's right. But I mean, so are we limited by power counters here? Because the money, like, you can run through the server multiple times at this point.
Yeah, well, I don't think we're limited by power counters at all on Sokka's side of the board. There's 3 simul chips. You can just recur these pieces as many times as you want.
Right. Sokka ready to move some money around, I think.
One of these players has to force the
what
issue.
What a standoff.
Yeah, this is a true standoff, Old West style.
Who's going to draw first?
Well, it would seem to favor Sokka as he has the literal gun card installed.
Yeah. Fire away. Clicking more for more credits.
We're continuing to recur
Clicking
these
for credits?
subliminal.
Not even. There's no events being played. Just what are we waiting for?
I think we are waiting for the clock to get to inch closer and closer to 0. This is unlike any game of Netrunner we've seen all weekend.
Yeah, I guess you have to sort of. How many spins have been removed from the game? At least 2.
At least 2.
Right. So if a third one comes down, if this is a spin doctor, that resets the timer a little bit.
Yes. I don't think.
Although if they're going back into R&D, then R&D is still really juicy, and you can make that run once, twice.
Do we think Santa's in any risk of decking out here in the next 5 minutes? The Charlotte Castador cooked for quite a while.
This could be the line for Sokka, because now we have something in the remote.
Yeah,
so,
the remote exists.
Running HQ.
Here's a run. Okay, a game action. That looks like a copy of Saisentan.
2 strength. The gun only needs to spend counters here. It doesn't even need to spend for any of those credits.
Yeah, the turbine makes that one quite strong. Going to continue on through here. What is this innermost ice? That is Brawn 1.0, the very powerful HB barrier from System Gateway.
4.5 minutes left on the clock.
I think Sokka has all the money he would ever need in order to make this really strongly looks like he's going to go for a deep dive.
So from Santa's position, I think it's much easier for Sokka to take one agenda, to steal one agenda, than it is for Santa to score one.
Correct.
Right. So this
I
is
would agree.
A risky line of play. There's the Anoetic.
Yep.
It's going to end the run, but it's going to put more card down. Now the hand is even more juicy.
We assume.
Although the card on the table could be a spin doctor, in which case that was a safe play.
Yes.
But it seems like you want to potentially clear that remote, unless this is all just part of I'm using these clicks now for a deep dive. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going through back into HQ, breaking the Saisentan here, Brawn 1.0. Reaching for the innermost ice. Looks like an Aginfusion. And the way Aginfusion works is if you boop to a server with an unres piece of ice on the outermost, there is no window to res it as you're in the encounter step, not the approach step when ice gets resed.
Okay. It's just archives. We're just seeing Lacosta Grid, handful of other pieces cards I didn't catch.
Nothing immensely relevant.
Yeah, no points.
Interesting that Sokka not choosing to put the copulation, but I suppose with the Anoetic Void sitting on HQ, Santa's going to do his job for him of clearing the handout.
There might be another card that Sokka's waiting for to target. We've seen Sokka target very precise cards with copulation in a very creative ways. That card has had a lot of really cool highlight reel moments.
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
And we're seeing yet another HQ run. We're going to throw the gun at the Saisentan, reinstall it off the simul chip, and continue and keep on shooting.
I love throwing the gun. That's
what a thematic ability on Revolver.
Yep. It should say, and throw the gun.
Yeah, exactly. Looks like a Rashida trigger here to refill the hand and just add more fuel to the Anoetic Void. But again, continuing to speed up the deck out threat. Santa's R&D is getting very thin.
I mean, there's 3 Bacterial, 3 Nisei, an Off-World, and a Send a Message.
Yeah, so there's 2 Nisei, all 3 Bacterial, and the Send a Message that's left over. So lots of agendas. Yes, Santa's R&D extremely thin. These agendas can't just get removed from the game. They have to go somewhere.
Right. There's 6 agendas left in the game. Where are they? Find the agendas. Missing agendas. Put them on a milk crate. Find them.
Santa with a little eyebrow raise. Thinking about drawing a card. Hasn't seen it yet. Hasn't entered HQ yet. There it is. Okay, there is another draw.
A minute 50.
Now it looks like Santa installed the card he just drew. Didn't really move around his hand a lot. Throw a card away for hand size. We're going to roll R&D for our mark, and here's Wheels charging the remote server. Oh, we just got a little bit of a look of HQ.
There were 2 bacteria.
HQ's loaded.
Yeah,
HQ
it is absolutely
is loaded. Looks like no res on the remote. That is a copy of Spin
it's
Doctor.
The last spin, I think.
Is there 1 card left in R&D?
Oh,
About to be 3 after the Spin Doctor. But again, there's only a minute and 15 left on the clock here.
Can we get through 4 turns?
Yes.
Right? Without either an agenda coming out of HQ, you can't use that Anoanic anymore.
Is there any possible way that Sokka could force the mill, or the deck out rather?
Running through R&D seems unlikely here.
Exactly 3 cards left in R&D. Less than a minute left on the clock. And again, if this game goes to a true tie, Santa will win. Choosing an extremely unorthodox line of play. Here's a copy of Sure Gamble.
42 seconds left.
Sokka motioning to archives. Looks like we're running archives.
Just checking.
Does not appear to be a res. Yep, there's a copy of Charlotte.
If the timer ends on Santa's turn, I think Sokka's probably very happy.
I would think so. And Santa can likely take some very quick turns here. I mean, simply clicking for 3 or clicking for 4.
Right. Draw a card, click for 3.
But there's a lot of beginning of turn triggers like this thimble rig that Santa made, and the subliminal messaging that may distract Santa. It is his turn. We've only got 5 seconds left of the clock. Looks like
it may not be truly perfectly accurate, so we'll see. We'll see when the round ends on stream, or the timer ends.
We're gonna ice up HQ. I believe those cards are in. Gonna click draw. There's 1 card left in R&D.
I think that is just 1.
Yeah, it looks like 1 singular card left in R&D.
We called archives as mark. We're gonna run archives.
We're gonna run archives. Anything in archives? Nothing. 2 copies of the Caustic Grid and a Hansai.
And that's time called.
Time has been called.
On Sokka's turn, you can see disappointment on his face, I think, potentially with, okay, now Sokka knows.
Yes. All the information is here. Sokka just needs to touch any agenda. Their Santa has no way of fast advancing agendas.
We are probably looking at a bit of a think here.
Oh, yeah.
Because Sokka's got a lot of options to work through with the last 4 clicks of the game.
Yes.
And he knows that Santa won't deck out, so that's not a threat.
Correct. Now,
so he has to just find an agenda.
Now time was called in Sokka's turn, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
Is there ever a world where Sokka runs R&D and it's a trashable card? If that last card in R&D is trashable and Sokka accesses that could be a deck out.
The deck lists in hand, he can go and figure this out, I think. Well, he doesn't know what cards
what's
are
in the hand.
Right.
Correct. HQ is unknown information, at least in part.
So it's either an agenda or all of the agendas are in hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 6 agendas left in the game. All 6 of them are either in the hand or archives. I mean, or an R&D.
Or the one in R&D.
There's only 6, and there's only 6 unknowns in hand, unless one of them got installed as an ice or something. Which you don't want to do that.
Correct. That would be a tough
That would be a game
one.
loss.
Yeah.
There are only 6. Those are all agendas. Every single card.
So what you're saying is that if Sokka gets into HQ or forces this Anoetic Void to fire, an agenda will move to archives.
I think that's potentially solvable.
Yeah.
Because we have 6, 7, 8 agendas in the game. We've only seen 2 removed.
2 of them are out of the game. Yeah, you're right. 6 agendas.
And the 6 cards left in play. Oh my.
So
but I mean, Sokka's not going to rush into any decisions.
No.
You don't
Correct.
end up in that position.
Now, the other line that Sokka could take here, there's an empty cupulation on the board, partner.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even have to be a trashable card. He can put it on the cup.
That's true.
That's a mill.
If you get
That's
through,
a deck out.
Now the question is, can you get through 15? These are rows of 5? 5, 10, 15.
Yes.
20, 30 credits,
Infinite.
34 credits.
Call it infinite for the sake of argument.
Even if these are all 8 cost ice,
It's close to being able to res everything.
On average, 6 credits
Yeah.
each. You can res them all.
Yeah, you probably don't. And there's certain ice you probably don't res just to hold up
Right.
the Aginfusion
To boot.
ability. Okay, we're going to run Archives, host the Anoetic Void,
Yeah, just run the hand.
just run the hand, force that Anoetic Void to fire. Now, the Aginfusion ability has not been used yet. Oh, it looks like we're going to rewind. Is this on the, because we haven't flipped another click
That's right.
marker over, so I think we're going to rewind a little bit and host that an Anoetic Void from Archives during the run on Archives.
That whole time might have been mid-run on Archives deciding
Pinhole threading.
where are we pinholding?
I would assume we're gonna pinhole the trash
Oh,
this Anoetic
the
Void.
Anoetic Void. Wow,
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Okay, Santa redirecting Sokka into R&D. The cupulation line we discussed earlier, no longer on the table. The cup is only big enough to hold 1 card.
Now, but 6 cards in hand, the Anoetic can fire end over end over end. Now, the boop has been used. There are 2 more. There are 2 more border controls left in the deck that we haven't seen unless they're in Archives.
1. Just 2 border controls
2
in
border
Santa's.
controls.
So,
Okay.
so unless he shuffled 1 back in with the Spin Doctor, there's likely only 1 left.
And it doesn't really matter where on the board. No, they do. It does matter where they are on the board, but it seems like there is 1 on R&D.
There's the Spider. Looks like the pinhole threading run was booped over to R&D, and Sokka choosing to bounce off the Thimble Rig and just run back into HQ. Going through the Spider, here's an encounter with the Saisentan.
Cost me a bullet and a trash.
Going to
1 bullet, throw the gun, reinstall the gun.
right.
Maybe.
I don't. Yeah, the Anoetic is going to save the day here, I think, right?
Well, but the problem is
fine.
Archives is undefended
Oh,
now.
that's right. Yes, that's the problem. We've established this.
Yeah, so if Santa ends this run with the Anoetic Void, the agendas are just getting shuffled around to do another server.
Right.
Sokka with clicks and no defenses on Archives.
I think we
Here's Braun
might be in a lock here.
going through it. Anoetic Void. It's your
Fire
choice.
2, yeah. Would you like to
Fire
go access
2.
these? Santa's smiling and
Sokka
laughing.
getting another click off of Hannah Wheels Palintra.
Oh, my goodness.
Running Archives.
Yeah,
There's the
he knows.
handshake.
Yeah,
Sokka
everybody knows.
takes it.
Wow.
The dream run continues, and Sokka gets revenge on Santa for knocking him into the loser's bracket. The three-peat lives to see another game. Congratulations to Sokka 234 for taking this one home. Really strange game of Netrunners. Like I said, sometimes they don't go the way you think they will, but that could not have been a more exciting game.
Man, there's the variations that happen in this game is just something that keeps me coming back. Look, we get to see all the ice. We do see border control on the really, really deep R&D. But yeah, the whole hand was...
And let that be a lesson to the viewers at home. Understand what your outs are in a given situation. Santa knows that the clock favors him. He is the higher seed. A tie favors him. Tie goes in his favor. He would be the winner in that situation.
Right.
So putting all the time pressure on Sokka. I will sit here and do nothing if you're not willing to make a move either.
Right. That explains a lot of the fast, like click for 3, click for 4,
Yeah.
click for 4, click for 4.
Exactly.
Fine. You want to run out your deck? We're going to do this,
Yeah, yeah.
and you're going to do it fast enough to that you have to slow down eventually.
Now we're playing a different game.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
What a great game. What a cool one. I'm so thrilled we got to see a kind of a weirdo game
We've
like that
had
on stream.
Such a variety of different matchups that end up with just nothing's been. I haven't seen the same thing twice, or at least maybe we see the same decks, but they play out in such different ways.
Wildly
So,
differently.
yeah.
That was having spectated much of their initial game in the first round of the top 16. A wildly different story.
Right.
Santa doing a much better job of just taxing out Sokka's resources, making sure you can't run through Anansi forever, and I will make sure of that.
You would have sworn that there was a Ginger City grid on the board there. Okay, well, I think that's the end of that round. We'll be back for round. I think it's round 6 next. You'll be back.
Yeah, I'll be back.
I'll be bowing out for a little bit, but I'll be back later. And yeah, enjoy everybody. See you later.